Hi everyone, Charlotte here from New Zealand Shores. Today we are talking about what is the difference between market rate and median wage and how do Immigration New Zealand use those two thresholds to assess your visa application. So let's talk about market rate first because this is the only thing that Immigration New Zealand apply to accredited employer work visa assessments when they're looking at your visa application. So what market rate means is that it is a similar or the same salary or wage that a New Zealand citizen or resident would be paid for the exact same role. This is really important because it prevents migrant exploitation. There is a big fallacy out there that employers can bring migrants into New Zealand and pay them less than they can pay a Kiwi, and that is just absolutely not correct because Immigration New Zealand check market rate at two stages. The first stage that they check market rate is under a job check. Now, a job check, we have a separate video on this, but a job check is done before you can apply for your visa, and it's where Immigration New Zealand have to show that they've advertised the role and that the employment that they are offering you adheres to immigration law and employment law. So that's a really important first step. So they check market rate under the job check as well. And whatever they enter into that job check that has been approved then pulls through to your work visa application. So for example, if a job check has been approved and they have told Immigration New Zealand that they want to offer a candidate between $30 to $40 per hour, and that is the appropriate market rate for that role, then that is what they must pay you. They cannot pay you below that threshold because Immigration New Zealand have assessed it and they have said, yes, this job offer will meet market rate. If we look at median wage, which is another threshold that immigration use, median wage applies largely to putting you on a pathway to residence. So when you are looking at coming to New Zealand to perhaps settle permanently, there are two things you want to look at when you are looking at an offer of employment in New Zealand. One is that offer of employment is that at market rate, so that you are being paid the appropriate wage or salary for your occupation. If you do want to remain permanently, you need to make sure that that wage or salary is above median wage or higher. And as of today, in March 2026, median wage is $35 per hour. So if you are in a role which is hovering around that $35 per hour mark, you want to make sure that if you're adamant that you want your pathway to residency to start the minute you arrive in New Zealand, that you are paid at $35 per hour or higher. Again, you cannot be, for example, a doctor or a software engineer or a higher skilled professional and only be paid a median wage. You must be paid market rate or higher for that role. So it can be a little bit complex and it can be a little bit confusing as to how does Immigration New Zealand apply their assessments in either situation. However, the best thing to do is speak to a licensed immigration advisor. We can look at a job offer, or we can even talk to you before you've got a job offer as to what you should be looking at to make sure that one, you are being offered market rate for your occupation, for your role, and two, that that is putting you on a pathway to residence, whatever that pathway to residence may be, because of course, different pathways have different criteria. So please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is info@newzealandshores.com, which we jot down below. So please do reach out and we can have a conversation around what your eligibility looks like to migrate. We can also look at a job offer if you already have one to make sure that it is putting you on a pathway to residency and that your work visa is going to be approved.